Poof! There goes the condo bubble. Prices are down, but are they going to stay that way? Stay tuned for this week's end of the year recap on the 416 condo market. Stay tuned. Promise you, it'll be worth it. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. So glad you joined me here today, and happy holidays! Every week on Prime Properties TV, we take a closer look at the Toronto real estate topics and updates that matter the most to you. And in this episode, I'm going to tell you a story about what the heck happened with the Toronto condo market, specifically the 416. And yes, spoiler alert, I would say the bubble popped due to the pandemic. Now, if you like content like this, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the Prime Properties TV channel for more awesome real estate content just like this. Now, the bottom to subscribe is right here on the bottom right side of the screen. So, where do we start? I want to tell you a cohesive story of what the heck happened with the condo market. So let's wind back the clock into early 2019. 2019 was shaping up to be basically the year of the condos. Here on the chart right here, you can see that the average price in a downtown 416 condo looked like that. You started in the bottom left corner in the high 500s, call it 590s, almost at 600. Crazy where we once were, and now look where we are 2 years later. Now, the demand for condos back then kept increasing and increasing and increasing. This is also the time when we broke $1,000 per square foot in the downtown resale market. Then, once the fall market kicked in, we had no inventory as everyone was trying to hold on to their condos because rents were going up like crazy, like really rapidly, making the yields that much more desirable. So people were okay to pay a little bit more for pricing. Then from November 2019 to about February 2020, things went crazy. Let me put the 2020 average price on this curve for you. You can see if you trace the blue line back to January of 2020, prices jumped, then jumped again in February. And I would call that the peak of the condo market in 416. The average price in February of 2020 was $722,000 for an insane increase of 10% from November 2020. Insane. Here it is again, right? I was telling you earlier in the previous video, February price increase. I keep telling you about it. Then pandemic and things went to poo-poo. For everyone that tells me that they were waiting to buy at the bottom, I would say there was a good chance the bottom was April, and only one person took me up on that offer and bought something at below market, really below market, and from a super motivated seller. Now, everyone else waited because of the fear of the pandemic and stayed on the sideline, which, by the way, is totally normal. But I'm telling you this right now because it's just normal psychology that when things are looking good, people want to buy. FOMO train, real estate, Toronto, normal. But when things are looking bad, people want to sell. And doing the exact opposite is generally how you make money. Now, right after Toronto adjusted to what the lockdown life looked like and things kind of came back, although not as strong, but stuck around until September rolled around. And now if you've been following me all year, you'll know what September means. Fall market, and when the investors' mortgage for the deferrals were ending. So this so-called mortgage deferral everybody was talking about for like 3-4 months, I would say didn't really exist, but it kind of did, only in the 416 condo market, especially if you had a condo that's sub 600 square feet and you had to get rid of it. Now, there are tons of listings that came out on the market. Like we got flooded. You see, our back-end TREB system is quite archaic and we cap out at like 200 new listings that come out every day and people are relisting it. So for 3 days of the week in September, we just kept getting an obscene capped on amount of listings, which I'll get into later. And as I always say, when there's a lot of supply, prices come down, which is what we saw. So ignoring the shock of the pandemic, you can see here in the chart in April, one of the only few times where year over year, right, in the chart went across, prices dipped below the previous year was November 2020, which just came. So you can see that the orange line dipped below the blue line. This is exactly where we are in the 416 condo space right now as I'm showing this video. Let me play out a scenario for you. Let's just say, the vaccines are looking good, things are kind of stabilizing in the condo market, prices don't increase, just flat, stabilize. I'm going to draw a straight line right across for the year of 2021 in red, and prices don't change. Look where the red is compared to the orange. Basically below the orange line in every single month except April. This is why if I were to use logic and rationalize how the consumer is going to perceive the 416 condo market, I'd say everyone is going to freak the heck out from December, this month, to March when the numbers come out for the next few months. Because we're going to be down 5 to 10% from the height of the market. And then the uneducated or unsophisticated, whatever you want to call them, right? Sellers out there who don't understand the market are going to freak out and sell. So yes, there is an opportunity that could be coming up. Are you going to capitalize on it? That's up to you. But if you want to learn more about how we're doing this, you can book a call with me using the link on the screen. It's chadzen.com. But back to the point I was trying to predict on how 2021 is going to shape out. Once you cross April in 2021 and it looks like the prices are up year over year, relatively speaking, kind of not, but optically they do. And what I mean by that is just because there's a massive dip in 2020. And the vaccine is more rolled out and the spring market is around the corner and consumer confidence comes back, the 4 and 6 condos could maybe return and maybe go up. Now, we'll probably have a good indicator of this is when we start seeing builders start launching projects again, like pre-con condos. If you've noticed recently, there haven't been any big projects launching right now because consumer confidence is low in condos, which means lower prices, people will not buy, may not sell, right? So you can see in the red line for 2021, trends may go up, but only if inventory keeps getting absorbed. So if that trend continues, I'd say maybe after April, when things are a little bit potentially back to normal, we may see a year-over-year increase or neutral by the time September, October rolls around. A big factor for this is when students come back to, say, U of T, George Brown, Ryerson, the new school year, assuming campuses have restarted, should resume, and that should absorb some of the rental market. Can it happen? Maybe. This is where I'm going to point you to my graph over here about inventory. Remember that time I was telling you about pricing going up in 2019? Look at the months of inventory in 2019. It's going down as it progresses. Then in February, the peak in 2020 of the condo prices, inventory was below 1, meaning there were more sales than there were listings. This is how prices jump up so much. Then pandemic and inventory went boom, 5x. It came down when prices stabilized again in September after deferral ended, spiked right back up to pandemic numbers. Right? You can see. Now let me map this out against the pricing for you, top, bottom. You can see that the chart is basically an inverse of one another. Yep. This is why I always look at months of inventory, because it is a leading indicator on where prices are going to be. Pricing means already happened. So this is exactly the same in the freehold market that I reported in last week's end of the year recap regarding the freehold property. So if you missed that video, you can click on the top right side where there's a little eye and you can check out that video. If you've been part of my newsletter, you'll know that 2 weeks ago in the newsletter, I reported that a very, very weird small sample size in the first 2 weeks of December, we actually had more sales in 2020 than we did in 2019, which sounds crazy because December 2019 was hot. This means that the condos in the 416 are still moving because we had more sales than a hot December 2019 market. But there is still a lot of inventory. This is why you see that the months of inventory graph start tipping down at the end of 2020. And this is because inventory is being absorbed. It looks like it will as long as not that much inventory comes up in 2020. But we're still 4 months away, which is why we're still kind of in a balanced market. But if we get that little February bump and the months of inventory for the 4 and 6 condo is like, say, I don't know, lower than 3, sub 3, which I think we may be with the February bump, we may see things stabilize post-May, April, and then maybe trend up a little bit in September, maybe. But this is what I'll be monitoring. You see, when I look at the price fluctuations on this chart now on a month to month, you can see in the last few years, outside of the pandemic-shaped V change in price and the foreign buyer tax right here in 2017, which drove up the condo prices, we're fairly predictable when it comes to pricing and fairly consistent. This is why I think there could be a price increase from the current prices, like current prices in February, not year over year, and as inventory is being absorbed. But of course, when we compare it to 2020 February, it's still going to look like crap because it was a peak. And no media headline is going to look on a month to month because no one does that. Only really I do. Now, I know a lot of you have already contacted me about buying something downtown for personal use recently because the vaccine rolled around. Now, I think a lot of you, because you contacted me, suspect the same thing that I do, that prices should increase maybe a little bit in 2021 from where they are right now. Now, I presented the data for you, and what you want to do with it is up to you. If you want to figure out a plan, a smart one that goes against the grain, you may want to schedule a call with me using the link on the screen right here. It's www.chatnet. Spots are limited as I'm trying to take a break during the holidays right now because I suspect the market will be a little bit nuts in 2021. So make sure you stay tuned to next week's 7 crazy predictions. So for now, I'm going to put on my blanket sweater and chill until the new year. Stay safe, everybody. Until next time, your move, your future. Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one? Oh, you know what? This one's good too. Ooh, this one's really good. You know what? Just watch them both.